Welcome back to America's Forum. I'm J.D. Hayworth.
And I'm John Bachman. We're going to talk about Senate politics right now and a former senator from Massachusetts who's considering throwing his hat into the ring for a Senate race in an entirely new state right now.
That would be, yes, the aforementioned Scott Brown. And who better to talk about Scott Brown, about Massachusetts and New Hampshire than longtime Boston talk show host and columnist for the Boston Herald, Howie Carr. Howie, it's great to have you back on America's Forum. I understand you spoke with Scott Brown this weekend. Can you let us know what he had to say to you?
Yeah, I think he just says, hang on for a minute, hang on. I don't want to say anything. You'll be the first to know all this. He's running, JD. I mean, there's no question about that. It's just a question of when he's going to make the announcement. I don't know why he's waiting so long. He's coming across as Hamlet. You remember Bob Smith, the former senator from New Hampshire. He's been out for a long time now, for 12 years. He's running again for the Republican nomination, and he said, I challenge Scott Brown to 10 debates in 10 towns in New Hampshire he's never heard of.
Well, it's interesting when you mentioned Bob Smith, because there was a time when Bob had relocated to Florida. You correct me if I'm wrong, but Bob spoke about running for the Senate from Florida. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. He was selling real estate, I believe, up on the other side of the state, on the Gulf Coast somewhere, and then he came back to New Hampshire. He was supposed to be the guy. Jeanne Shaheen thought she could take him out, and she was still the sitting governor at the time. She was expecting to run against him in 2002, and then Sununu, the congressman, came along and knocked Smith out in the primary, and then beat Shaheen, and then she defeated him in 2008 in the rematch. And so this is her third go around for it. And right now she's got a 13-point lead in the latest poll, but that was I think mainly because she and the liberal groups from D.C. decided to really dust up Scott Brown. They had him basically, he did everything but captain the Exxon Valdez and shoot polar bears with Sarah Palin, that kind of stuff. And so the latest poll, he took a hit, but he was basically defenseless then. So I think he's going to get back in very quickly. He's now set up a committee, but it's past time for him to make it official, I think.
Now, when you were talking to him, you say he's going to run, and I think all the signs here point that it's very obvious. But how could he even, a guy like yourself, how can he not withhold this, or how could he withhold this information, I should say, knowing what you know and knowing what everybody else knows at this point? Was he even, was he trying to be coy? Was he kind of admitting to you, hey, I'm going to make the announcement, you just got to give me a little bit more time?
Yeah, that was it basically, John. He just wants a little more time. He said, he's in no particular rush. I mean, I don't see why he isn't in a rush. I mean, once the weather gets warm, I mean, it's been a bad winter. People are not going to be thinking about politics in New Hampshire or Massachusetts or anywhere in the Northeast. They're going to be just taking it easy and enjoying themselves. This would be a perfect time for him to get out there and go for it. There's another theory is that if he's elected here against Jeanne Shaheen in November, that he's immediately going to begin running for president. That he's, as you guys know, he's already made a couple of trips to Iowa late last year. So he's trying to really sort of play a cute game here of running for the Senate and running for president at the same time.
Now this is really something, Howie, because I was inclined, as a former Senate candidate myself, who once had delusions that if you knock off a former nominee, boom, you're instantly in the running for the White House. But one of the reasons for the coyness, it would seem to me, is campaign finance law. And Scott coming out this weekend with the exploratory committee gives him time to get his ducks in a row. And also, you really have to make sure, because what they've done with campaign finance law, where in the past what was considered a regulatory mistake suddenly now carries with it, depending on the federal prosecutor in the jurisdiction, the possibility of being charged with a felony, that does tend to put brakes on official announcements. But I find it fascinating that you're talking White House with Scott Brown, and you believe that he's really on this two-track or a double-tiered approach.
Well, JD, you know, he's been in Iowa. That Iowa State Fair, the big one in the fall. He was there last year. I mean, what other conclusion can you possibly draw?
Yeah,
Well, that may have been on assignment for Fox, where he was a contributor to the O'Reilly thing, and or maybe it's shades of what Joe Scarborough did over the weekend in New Hampshire. Once you get on television, it supplements your resume, which, hey,
Yeah.
gee, I might start resembling that too. But present company accepted. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
about the whole
he's
thing.
off Fox now too. That
Right.
announcement was made last week. And that was another kind of a strange thing. 2 weeks ago, the Globe said he's gone from Fox, the Boston Globe, and then the next day it came out, well, no, he's not gone from Fox. He re-signed his contract, and then now, less than 2 weeks later, he's gone from Fox again. It's like it's almost like he's keeping it even from his closest Confederates.
And how are the people of New Hampshire going to receive that, Howie, if that's a widely circulated, because you're saying it, I would assume it's widely circulated now, this theory about Scott Brown just using this New Hampshire seat as a stepping stone to try and run for president?
Well, I'm sure that Jean Shaheen is going to make a lot out of it. I mean, you know, she's originally from Missouri, so the carpetbagger charge rings hollow. But she's been in New Hampshire for a long time, and Scott's family is from New Hampshire originally, but he's gonna have to deal with the fact that he you know didn't really leave Massachusetts on real good terms. I mean, there was no like you know, farewell tour, you know, in his barn jacket saying, you know, thanks for having me as the senator and all that. And he hides it in some areas, but you know, when he's in private, he's sort of bitter about the fact that he lost to Elizabeth Warren. I mean, you could sort of understand that bitterness, considering that, you know,
Well,
she falsified her record. Her
Sure.
ethic.
Well, I got to tell you, Howie, speaking from experience, it's never fun to finish second in an election campaign. We'll have to leave it there. Howie, happy St. Patty's Day, and thanks for your time there, Skyping in from Boston.
Here and go broad, JD.
That's right. Ireland forever. Thanks.
All right, well, more to come here on America's Forum. We want to talk to you, and we want to talk about some issues coming up with tax policy. That's going to be exciting. Stick around for that, and we'll have more after the break. You can tweet us on Twitter at NewsmaxTV, hashtag America's Forum, or find us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewsmaxTV. Back with more after this.